Shalom. Giving all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakorash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. And as always, we give peace and salutations to the elect. And I wanted to do a response to this video uploaded by the elder Raquia Kwam of the Great Millstone branch in London. Okay, and as you can see, the title of his page here, GMS Fear, the Most High 7, Ga. Subscribe and be edified. Okay, and as you can see, the title of the video that I will be responding to is False Science and Lucy. False Science, which is Pseudo-Science, brought to you by none other than Esau Edom and Pseudo-Science. All right, and many of the narratives that now dominate, all right, people's minds is rooted in this very pseudoscience that we're getting ready to get into, in which the reason he did this video is because you have this guy here, Charleston White, which I believe he set up. Okay, there's a lot of individuals who are just popping up, and when you listen to them, they say things that make sense. All right, but as you keep listening to them, all right, they're going to show you who they are. Okay, and we're going to show you in this video, basically, he's forwarding the pseudoscience of Lucy. Okay, which, as we look at this video here, Lucy is an early Australopithecine, all right, Australopithecine, and is dated about 3.2 million years ago. Okay, and basically, as we'll show you, this is supposed to merge, all right, man with ape and bring light and validation, all right, to the pseudoscience of evolution and tie you so-called blacks and your origins back to Africa, when the whole thing is a mocking to you. Okay, this is not our ancestor. Okay, man was never once a monkey. Okay, and this is pseudoscience. All right, and you have particular, like the conscious community. I remember Brother Polite, he once brought light to this. The oldest ancestor is a black woman named Lucy, in which, Esau Edom throws that, millions of years, billions of years, so that he can keep a gray area and basically make you godless, okay, and separate you from the scriptures. Because when you deal with the scriptures, all right, and the creation story, there is no way the earth could be billions and millions of years old. And then he brings you these flawed, dating methods, and he pushes it out there, and basically the people who accept it, all right, boast themselves up against the scriptures. You see, the scriptures say that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the pulling down of strongholds, all right, and things that exalt themselves against the knowledge of Yahweh Bashim Yahshai. And this garbage rhetoric dealing with Lucy does just that, all right? And the Lord told you that he made foolish the wisdom of this world. Okay, so check out this video. I'll play some of it. All right, but let's listen to this guy. All right, again, him, you listen to Candace Owens. They say things that, make sense. And what that does is that draws our people in to believe that these are your leaders. But as you continuously listen to them, you're going to hear some rhetoric. You're going to hear some pseudoscience. You're going to hear some lies. Like Candace Owens tried to go into the scriptures and say that, all right, the tiny tops are Japhetic, not Edomites, but Japhetics, and they're not Shemitic at all. They're the seed of Japhet, and that's a complete lie. And we have videos going into that, but what happens is they say so much good and things that make sense and to make you think that they're one of you and that they're against the powers that be, or that you forget a lot of these people are controlled opposition. Okay. And this guy is no different. Again, you listen to him. He says things that make sense. He says things that are true. Okay. But check him out right here. Let's play while we're getting on him and what in this lesson that we're getting ready to do. Okay.
Yeah. They don't know how to die. That's why they study our bodies. They don't study their bodies. The oldest bones is an African woman named Lucy. Those studied her the DNA from a black woman, not a white woman.
You hear that? All right, let's listen to him again.
At the same restaurant. No, then we go to the same doctors. So of course they're gonna diagnose us. Yeah. They don't know how to die. That's why they study our bodies. They don't study their bodies. The oldest bones is an African woman named Lucy. Those studied her the DNA from a black woman, not a white woman.
Okay. And there's truth in what he's saying about how Esau operates, but he throws in pseudoscience, linking you, all right, so-called blacks, all right, to a monkey fossil or bone that they found. And as they dated it, it dates back to millions of years ago. And this is the link, the gap between ape and man. And it's complete folly. See that? So as our people are listening to this, all right, you look at the comments, right? You look at the comments, you know, everybody's talking about how good the video is. So how many of these people that are watching this video, which this guy is a walking contradiction, you know, he's an opportunist, he's a character, you know, he's hilarious, he's annoying, he's all of that in one. He's smart, he knows particular things, but overall, he's set up to scatter the minds of you Israelites, man. Because on one interview, he's saying there is no God, I don't believe in God. In another interview, he's saying he's a sacrificial lamb. You know, the Bible says this, the Bible says that, just like Tupac. Very talented, but all over the place and confusing, you know, and set up to basically inject, all right, you know, wine into the veins of you Israelites that are already drunk. Okay. And these become your real ones. These become your prophets. And don't be surprised if Esau has him be the martyr for you niggers, you know, to mourn over next. Okay. So very, very, you know, it's detrimental that you Israelites get focused and rooted in Yahweh Ba'Shemiah Shai, so that when you look at things like this, you're able to what? Eat the meat and spit out the bones, as the elder Ariologist did a video on Remnant Save 144 Ba. You know, you got these people coming along because Esau, he watches you Israelites. He knows what's going on. He sees the awakening going on. So he knows how to inject, all right, what seems as a liberating message and give it to you and fill it with things that separate you from the scriptures, separate you from Yahweh Ba'Shemiah Shai. See that? And we ain't got no goddamn ancestor named Lucy that was a monkey, and the earth ain't billions and millions of years old if you follow the scriptures. And there was once a time where science was backed by the Holy Scriptures. Scientists, because science just means to know, knowledge, all right? They had to go to the Bible to validate their findings at one point. But there came a point, you know, dealing with the age of enlightenment and these Edomite, you know, devils who ultimately brought about, you know, a bunch of confusion. Let's listen to a little bit of this elder's video and then we'll get into some things and then we're going to close it out.
Look up Lucy, right? They say Lucy and they give it some special name. And they say it's a 40% of a skeleton of a female hominin. Yeah, some type of ape. That's what they found. They found a fossil of some kind of ape in the ground. All right. And then through their false science, they aged it between 3.2 to 3.7 million years and decided to say that this was a human ancestor. This is a human relative, even though the bones are not human. Do you understand? Right. And then they start talking about how it walked and all this stuff, which they have no idea because all they have is bones, not even a complete skeleton. This is what allegedly, this is what they found. And from this, a couple of bones, right? They said this is a black woman. This is madness. And by the way, they found it, right, in sedimentary rock. And the way they age it is through a flawed science known as radiometric dating. And they didn't radiometric date the actual bones. They made it radiometric dated some ash that was around.
Yeah, they dated some ash around it and comes up, with 3.2 million years ago. Carbon dating, radiometric dating, all of these are flawed, all right, dating methods. Okay?
The bones. It's all BS, right? It's all BS to further this. Because once they can get you to believe, 3.5 million years ago, Lucy, now the whole Bible becomes a myth to you. And this foolishness becomes truth. And now they can manipulate you into the Luciferian doctrine.
And that's exactly what's happening. All right. Stuff like that. All right. Believing stuff like that. All right. Only makes you an anti-Messiah. You know how many Christians, so-called Christians, are walking around believing that the earth is billions of years old and believing that, okay, the man was once a monkey based upon the pseudo-science of the devil. And the scriptures told you, right? And this is real quick. Let's get this as well. This is 1 John 4:1. Beloved, believe not every spirit. Not everybody who's saying things that are true are truthful. All right. You got to try the spirit, as it says here. Believe not every spirit, but try the spirit by the spirit. All right. Believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they're of the Most High, because many false prophets are going out into the world. And there's many false prophets. And when you constantly see a camera in somebody's face and you see Esau Edom allowing certain airtime to be given, and he even went to, Edomite podcast, big time Edomite podcast, spewing confusion, saying things that are true. All right. He calls out black culture, which, we've been doing that. But yeah, he says things that are true. But then as you keep letting him talk, he's going to go left. And you're like, wait a minute. What? Just last week you said this. Now you're saying that. You have to understand these people are getting paid. These people are opportunists. These people are actors. All right. They're knowledgeable about things. But when you try the spirit by the spirit, okay, you find out that they don't meet the measure, all right, of being truthful about the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Okay, and he's come up against the Israelites. Okay, this is the book of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2:8. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power, signs, and lying wonders. All right, and again, we always show you this, right? This word lying wonders. So one of the ways you would know this devil is by his lying wonders. And that word happens to be pseudos, a lie, a conscious and intentional falsehood. In a broad sense, whatever is not what it seems to be, of perverse, impious, deceitful precepts, falsehood, lying. So this is a false science, and they know it's a goddamn lie. But these are the children of Satan. See, and our people eat these things up, and it only makes them more ungodly. Okay? Paul himself tells you in 1 Corinthians 15:39, all flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beast, another of fishes, another of birds. See that? So a monkey, a beast, and a man could never be the same. A man was never once a beast. And when you deal with this man's flawed evolution method, it's tainted. It doesn't line up with the scriptures, and it's a lie. And if you accept it, and when you start to accept it, you only start to look at the scriptures as a myth, all right, and not valid. That's what this man's science was set up to do, to poison you, to make you drunken. And our people are drunken off of that wine. They're godless. They say things that are truthful. They know certain things, but they're godless. Okay, they're all over the place. Okay, let's go here. Okay, it says Lucy is an ape, not an human ancestor. The skeletal remains, all right, of this fancy name they gave it, Lucy, shows ape-like features, long curved fingers and toes suited for climbing. And you have to understand, this is Esau Edom's way of mocking you and telling you this is your foundation. All right. not, you know, the you know, what the scriptures say, you know, the fertile crescent. Okay. Because if you look at true history, this is why this man gives you prehistory. If you look at true history, okay, the earth and humans only started to record themselves roughly around what? 5,000 years ago. Okay. True history only goes back so far, but they give you this prehistoric madness where dinosaurs were going around stumping on men. There was a time where things were bigger, animals were bigger, humans were bigger. But the myth that they push to you only is pushed to you to separate you from Yahweh Bashmiao Shai. And this whole Lucy thing is a myth. Okay? To give you Israelites a false sense of importance. Yes, we go back to Africa. Which is nothing wrong with Africa, but that's a lie. All right? As a matter of fact, let's listen to some more of this, brother. Let's jump here.
Esau invented what's known as prehistory, right? Now you have recorded history or written history, right? And recorded history matches the timeline of the Bible, right? According to recorded history, the earth is around 6,000 years, or man has been about 6,000 years, which lines up with the biblical timeline. And then, so therefore, the earth itself is really only about 11,000 years old, because you're adding in time for the creation, which is 7,000 years. So 7,000 years, and then you add on to that recorded history, which is recorded in the Bible, which is recorded everywhere, written history, then you get to around 11,000 years. Maximum, give or take. Right? It says recorded history begins with the accounts of the ancient world around the 4th millennium BCE, 4,000 years before who they call Christ, and now we're in 2000 after. So you see the timeline. Esau had to invent what's known as prehistory, and prehistory expands to millions of years, according to them. Now, this was set up by a guy named Charles Lyell.
Charles Lyell. Let's listen to a little bit about Charles Lyell. They call him the father of geology. You have the fathers of anthropology, the fathers of geology, but these are mere men, Edomites, all right, who basically came, all right, and hijacked the science movement and took it away from the biblical standard and added what is known as pseudo-science. Let's listen to this.
Geologist born a little bit north of Dundee in Scotland in 1797, and he was aware of both Steno's work in geology and stratigraphy, and also James Hutton, his fellow Scotsman, his work on the brand new uniformitarianism principle of geology, whereby the past is key to the present and vice versa. He took these great thinkers in geology and the beginnings of geology and really just made it more concrete. And in doing so, he looked at both the intensity of the process of uniformitarianism and the method by which processes occur on the Earth's surface, and again confirmed the Earth was
ancient. Older science, all right, validated the flood. They came with their own methods and own madness, which makes you question the flood, which makes you believe, okay, well, billions of years ago, as animals like the hummingbird. The hummingbird's beak is made to where basically it goes to a particular flower and its tongue is formed, all right, specifically to go inside of the flower. Well, his science tells you that, well, there was a point where the humming bird didn't have a beak. Okay, it had to evolve to what it was, to adjust to what it was. It's a bunch of damn madness, man. The giraffe eats certain leaves off of certain trees because he has a long neck. Well, there was a point where the neck wasn't that long. It had to, gradually grow to that. Man was, once, a monkey, and they evolved to what we are now to adjust to the surroundings around us, the survival of the fittest. All of this garbage, man. And to really get into it is pointless because it's bullshit. It's a lie. Again, there was a point where science, all right, was rooted in what the Bible said. But you had individuals like him, all right, bringing about the Luciferian age, all right, to challenge what the scripture said and basically bring about Satan's, all right, idea. And what we read here in 2 Thessalonians, right, it's telling you that you would know this man by his lying wonders. All right. And then when you get verse 10, it says, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause, God shall send them a strong delusion that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness, man. And to believe in some goddamn Lucy is having pleasure in unrighteousness. But let's listen to some more about this guy.
Much older in terms of deep time than it was previously known to be in terms of the religious ideas and the Bible teachings of it being 6,000 years old.
See that? Listen to what it said.
Earth was much older in terms of deep time than it was previously known to be in terms of the religious ideas and the Bible teachings of it being 6,000 years old.
So it challenged Bible teachings. That's what his science did. That's what this science, which he's just forwarding other devil science and made it more popular. The same thing Darwin did. His uncle actually started a lot of those methods, you know, that he forwarded. And here it is. Darwin is telling you how the origin of, you know, the well-favored species, which they were supposed to be the well-favored species, but he couldn't tell you the origin of plants. And on his deathbed, it's rumored that he told you that all of the shit he spewed was a lie. But these are the devils that are taught in the school systems as the great fathers of what we know today, and their science is pushed. This is why our children get into these schools and they're all confused and they act out and they grow up to be demons, a lot of them.
Charles Lyell confirmed and supported James Hutton in this deep time theory of the Earth based on the rock strata, the rock processes, and of course uniformitarianism. And he also looked at unconformities as well. There was a groundbreaking publication by Charles Lyell called The Principles of Geology. Now there are 3 volumes, first in 1830, the second in 1832, and the third and last one in 1833. So over the course of 3 years, these volumes basically listed and very accurately and in much detail listed all these ideas about uniformitarianism and the differences and variations within this principle of geology. So much that these natural laws and these ideas that Lyell put forward form the basis for modern geology. So he's known as the father of modern geology. And these volumes are basically looking at each part of uniformitarianism. So the process is one, the nature of it, and
in that he's telling you that this is the older, this is your ancestor. Look at this nigga. Again, imagine her at the barbecue. It's a myth. It's a lie.
Who was a witch, a warlock, one of these guys that I'm telling you about. Now, he came up with the theory known as the principles of geology. All right? So previous to Charles Lyell, everyone understood that the Earth was young, and the formations we see on the Earth are mainly due to cataclysmic events, namely the flood.
The flood, right.
The massive high-scale geological formations we see was created over a short space of time by a catastrophic event, which is the flood. He come up with uniformitarianism, right? He wrote a book called Principles of Geology, which said that everything we see on the Earth happened over millions of years. And this became the prevailing theory because, again, the people who were controlling the scientific community, like the Royal Society and so forth, they became nothing more than a bunch of witches and warlocks and masons. And this was set up, this pathway was set up to support evolution and it was all done to what? Destroy people's faith in the Bible. But it's
And see, let's get Revelation 20 real quick. This is what your Renaissance eventually promoted, you know, Revelation 20 and 7 after. All right. We just told you that he who's coming is after the working of Satan. Let's get this. 2 Thessalonians. All right. Chapter 2 and 9 in the NLT. This man will come to do the work of Satan with counterfeit powers, signs, and miracles. So he will come with his own philosophies, his own doctrines, technology, AI, and all of these various different things to counter Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. So he would come to do the working of Satan. Revelation 20 and 7. And when the 1,000 years are expired, okay, Esau, Edom came from the caves and ultimately received his blessing of the fatness of the earth via the Renaissance, the deadly wound being healed. Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. So the children of Satan will be loosed out of their prison and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth. And this is what they did. They brought about what they call an age of enlightenment. Let's look up the age of enlightenment. Okay. As a matter of fact, let's just type it up here. What is the age of enlightenment? And were things like Lucy and million-year Earth forwarded? Give me 1 second. What's going on here? Give me 1 second. Do it like this. Hold up. Okay, the Age of Enlightenment, called the Age of Reason, was roughly the 17th and the 18th centuries in Europe. Okay, it's off the back of the Renaissance, which came about the 1500s. Okay, the rebirth of the Roman thought, science, culture. It was a cultural and intellectual movement that emphasized reason over tradition. So traditionally, you know, the Bible, okay, and, you know, science was backed by the Bible. Okay. Observation and science over dogma, human progress and secularism, skepticism of religious authority. So this is what these devils brought about during that Renaissance. Okay. Did the Enlightenment forward ideas like Lucy in millions of years? Lucy was discovered in 1974, but it's off of the back of that very science. Okay. The seeds were planted there. See, as he says here. All right. The seeds were planted during the Age of Enlightenment. Okay. And you could look up more with that, but going back here real quick. Okay. Even some scientists admit calling Lucy a direct ancestor of humans is speculative at best. Okay. 3, pseudo-science and problem of assumptions. Evolutionary science often builds stories on fragments of bones and dust around the bones rather than hard evidence. Lucy's skeleton is only 40% complete, missing 60%. The missing 60% was reconstructed according to evolutionary assumptions. When models or museum displays show Lucy walking upright with human eyes and skin, this is artistic imagination, not proven science. This is where pseudoscience creeps in, presenting interpretations as facts. So you got a bunch of Edomites high off opium, you know, a bunch of pedos just sitting around creating theories to challenge the scriptures, man. And then you niggas take it on, even when you deal with the fathers of anthropology. Okay, Franz Boas and Melville Hertzkovitz. Okay, they believed in all of this madness and presented it to you as, all right, as a matter of fact, let's look up fathers of anthropology. Who the father of anthropology should be Franz Boas or Melville Hertzkovitz. There you go. Two small hats, all right, who made sure African American studies were taught in the school systems. But it's really scientific racism. Okay, it's not racism, all right? This is scientific fact that this is your history. Okay? And Jake really believes that these people mean them good. As a matter of fact, I have a video that I did on that. Okay? You look up these devils, man. And these are small hats. Okay? And you look at a guy like Tariq Bey. They believe in that madness. They believe they you know, a lot of their teachings are rooted in pseudoscience. That's actually mocking you, all right, and challenging the scriptures. Okay? You listen to the conscious community, and a lot of their, you know, those dudes who used to go on there, which is dead now, but years ago, you had a guy on the channel promoting Lucy. Polite once promoted Lucy.
Welcome to our documentary on study of human societies. The Inuit.
So these they just brought lies, man. There's one where Jake is bigging him up. This is the father of anthropology. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can find a video I did on it so you can look it up where I go deeper into it. But let's see here. Meet the two Jewish fathers of African American studies.
I will always be grateful to Melville J. Hertzkovitz for the contribution he made to my sense of self. This man said that, like every other people on earth, I had a culture, and that it could be traced back to a place called Africa.
See that? See that?
But the connection between Africa and American black people wasn't a new idea. Du Bois had written about it decades before Hertzkovitz.
And Du Bois was a supposedly an Edomite, but he was a sellout. He was set up to push a lie to you.
But Hertzkovitz is able to add the data that they just don't have access to. It's understandable that some people resisted the thought that central to understanding African American studies could be a book by a white person. Was Hertzkovitz able to do so much research on these questions because he's white? Because he has certain kind of privilege that other black scholars didn't have?
So you calling yourself an African American and all of that goes back to your enemy. And he did a good job at presenting it as liberation.
It's not true. Okay, uniformitarianism goes hand in hand with evolution, because you couldn't have evolution without the other. Because the only way people believe that evolution is halfway even plausible is because of the timeline. And so you go back to this Lucy thing 3.7 million years ago. It's garbage. And Charles White said it was a black woman. Where did he get that from? It was an ape bone they found in the ground. They added all the rest. All right, 1 Timothy 6:20 says, "O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science, so-called false science, man." But people hear these things and they hear it and they think it's true because Esau said it, and the man's got a degree and he calls himself a professor, and
And he got the data that black people couldn't have. Let's go here.
it's not Africa. I mean, so, in real archaeology and recorded history. All right. After the flood, you go into the book of Genesis. Let's get that real quick. Genesis, the 11th chapter. Right, Genesis 11:1, and the whole earth was one language and one speech.
And the garden eastward in Eden goes to where the real Jerusalem. So now you have all of these doctrines and ideologies challenging that, telling you, well, Jerusalem is really America, all right, or Africa. Our people want to accept everything but the truth. Why? Because your enemy makes sure that these doctrines and philosophies are spread amongst you to confuse you. Then y'all put hell on us.
And it came to pass as they journeyed from the
So, because if America is the Holy Land, the real Jerusalem, where's Babylon? The Great, I mean, because the original Babylon goes back to what this brother is going into. All right, the area of Iraq. But Babylon the Great is the place that's going to be destroyed, never inhabited again. If this is the Holy Land, then where's Babylon?
east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt with right? The land of Shinar is talking about the Iraq region, which we know as Iraq today. All right. This is where the root of civilization is, right? On this side of the flood. It's no Africa. I mean, Shinar.
Even the Hamites didn't originally come from Africa. It came from this area.
Ancient name for the territory later known as Babylon or Chaldea, right? The Chaldea was a region. Let me show you, right? This is Chaldea. It forms part of what's known as the Fertile Crescent, right? See the yellow part going round? That's also known as the Fertile Crescent. This is where all peoples were, and they branched out from there into Africa, into Europe.
That's it.
And northwards and southwards, right? And this is a known fact. This is what recorded history tells us. The oldest civilizations are from the Chaldean region, Babylon, Akkad, right? These predated the development of Egypt and so on and so forth, right? But what they want,
and when you go into their pseudo-science, they push Egypt back far farther than what it really was, man. To try to tell you that's the oldest civilization, and this gives you niggas hope. We was kings. That's where all of that comes from. Which Jake did great things in these regions, in our particular places we were scattered, but our origin is not Africa. We're not Africans. We don't have an ancestor named Lucy. We were never monkeys. And when you look at a monkey, who looks more like a monkey? Hairy, the thin lips. You Edomites. But we have the scientific data and the facts to prove that you niggas, you are and basically what they're telling you with this science is that they're evolving past your ass. Lucy, give me a break, man.
you to believe is everybody came out of Africa because they want to push evolution. And Jake accept that because they want to be African and they think this, oh yeah, see the first people were from, no, first people were not from Africa. On this side of the flood, everyone came off a boat and dwelt in this area. The boat came off in the area of Turkey, around Mount Ararat, and then they dwelt in the Fertile Crescent. And from there, they were scattered abroad. All right? This is true history. And if you want to go back before that, right, the Lord created man and placed them in paradise, okay? In the earth. It's not, we weren't from a monkey in Africa. This is ridiculous. Right? Genesis 11:2. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar and they dwelt there. Now I want to jump down to what happened. Right? Verse 8. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth. and they left off to build the city. All right, so it was from there that man scattered himself around Earth, and it ended up pretty much like this, where you had people dwelling in Europe. Japhet was dwelling up in Europe kind of area. Ham was dwelling in the east and north of Africa, and so on and so forth. Coming from this central area here, where everybody was dwelling.
Study her, the DNA from a black woman, not a white woman.
Right, the Lucy was not a woman. Lucy was not human. They gave it the name Lucy. Lucy was not human. Lucy was an ape that they found in the ground. There wasn't no woman. It wasn't a black woman. Right?
They take animal organs and put in their old white.
All right.
And see, then he says things that are true and things that play on your emotions. Now all of a sudden, you going to work proud about your ancestor being a goddamn ape. And this is supposed to be the missing link. It says, to place humanity in the same lineage as apes denies the divine uniqueness of mankind. So a fish could never be a rabbit could never be a fish. What you have are species after their kind. Okay? Humans will never be apes. Apes will never be humans, man. That is a lie. If man descended from Lucy, then Paul's word about distinct flesh kinds of flesh would be meaningless. Shifting science, Lucy is no longer the missing link. Even within the scientific community, Lucy is losing her status as a missing link. New discoveries, all right, and you can look all of that up, but we don't get into all of that. And there's a book called The Evolutionary Handbook that absolutely crushes the evolutionary doctrine. As a matter of fact, let's see if they still have it. Let's look it up here. The Evolutionary Handbook. They got a PDF of it, I believe. But yeah, this book right here, if you want to get into theories that crush this man, and we were heavy into it when we first came in. We used to be heavy into this. We used to be spit facts. I haven't been into it like I used to, because at the end of the day, it's just a lie. To get into the particulars and all of that, some of it is needed, but at the end of the day, we have faith that the worlds were formed by the word of the Most High. Okay, and Esau comes and throws a monkey wrench in the Lord's plan. Well, he tries to by feeding you pseudoscience. Okay. 1 Corinthians 1:18, for the preaching of the cross is to them that perish foolishness, but unto us that are saved, it is the power of the Most High. Okay. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise and will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world? Have not God made foolish the wisdom of this world? See? And after that, in the wisdom of God, the world by its wisdom knew not God. So it pleased the Most High by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe. See? For the Jews require a sign. They had to see it to believe it. And the Greeks, which are Israelites that got into all of those Greco-Roman philosophies, seek after wisdom. It got to be extra deep. So the preaching of the cross becomes basic and weird and stupid. But when you listen to their philosophies and doctrines, it's absolutely weird and stupid to believe that you have an ancestor named Lucy.
And of course, we're very curious. It's like a detective story. 3.2 million years ago, with most of the evidence gone. What can you make of what evidence is still there?
When we think about earlier human ancestors, we always think about them being much smaller than ourselves, right? But sometimes when you look at their jaws, like what I have in my hand, this is a Lucy species, Australopithecus afarensis, and it's really huge. And you wonder, like,
He needs to take one of them teeth and glue it to that missing one that he got at the bottom and shut the fuck up. This is madness. Y'all keep following after these people, man. Again, when you listen to a guy like Charleston White, you have to know how to, eat the meat and spit those bones out. 'Cause you swallow those bones, that's going to get caught and it's going to choke out the word of the Lord. And you become proud. This type of shit has made our people proud against the Lord.
Then we done start putting sunscreen on like them. We get the same diseases they get, and we've never gotten the same diseases as white people. The Indians were the only ones because we never ate like them. We have the same diets. We eat at the same restaurant. No, we go to the same doctors. So of course they're gonna diagnose us. Yeah, they don't know how to diagnose. That's why they study our bodies. They don't study their bodies. The oldest bones is an African woman named Lucy. Those studied the DNA from a black woman, not a white woman.
And y'all wear this with a badge of dignity. And look at our people. This brought tears to my eyes. He a real one. See that? But this nigga is telling you that your ancestor is a goddamn monkey. Apes remain apes, men remain men, just as Paul said. Claiming Lucy turned into humans is like claiming fish slowly became a bird, unsupported by observable evidence. This is where they give you the millions and billions of years because you ain't going to see it in your lifetime. And again, if we believe in the creation story, okay, the earth can't be billions of years old. And after the 7,000 years of creation, the 6,000 years, and then the 7,000 year, all right, that completed creation, okay, man has only been here, okay, living on earth, and the actual history and writings only go back so far. So what they have to do is give you prehistoric rhetoric to counter the scriptures. See? To overthrow the faith. Listen to a little bit more of the elder.
These people, this is one of these people, and then they start worshiping melanin like melanin makes you special. Melanin doesn't make anybody special. What makes us special is we're the chosen people of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Right?
All people were once melanated. Now, the genetic makeup of the Israelites is greater. This is why we jump higher. We taste food different. We see different. We make music different. We're a special people. We're set apart by our genetic makeup, but ultimately it's the spirit in us. Jake has taken melanin and lost their damn mind.
Right, melanin doesn't make you special. Melanin is normal. Not having melanin is abnormal.
Plants have melanin.
All right, but these Afrocentrics, they start going a bit insane with it. All right, melanin is normal. The plants have it. People have it. It doesn't make you special to have melanin. It's normal, right? Just like having fingers and a thumb. It's normal. If you didn't have no fingers or thumbs, you're abnormal. But then having fingers and thumbs don't make you special. It's a normal thing, all right? But anyway, right, so if you look up Lucy, right, they say Lucy and they give it some special name. And they say it's a 40% of a skeleton of a female hominin. Yeah, some type of ape. That's so 2 Corinthians 14 and 10 says, for the world has lost his youth and the time began to wax old. For the world is divided into 12 parts, right? Those 12 parts represent 12,000 years. And the 10 parts of it are gone already. So at that point, it had already been 10,000 years of history. And that's including the creation. Right. And half of the 10th part, 10 and a half. And there remaineth that which is after the half of the 10th part, Now therefore set thine house in order, and reprove thy people, comfort such of them as be in trouble, and now renounce corruption. So the biblical timeline has always been set.
Right.
And what they don't want you to do is live in a biblical timeline, live in reality. They want you to live in their bullshit illusion of a world where evolution exists. And there's a black woman named Lucy from 3.7 million years ago. You know, and then they found the bones and they know what color the hair is, what it looked like. This is BS. This is Lucy. This is BS. Witchcraft. Lived 3.7 million years ago. They know what the diet was. You know what this is? No, you don't. You found some bones somewhere. Some ape that died in the flood, probably, or maybe not in the flood, just some ape that died and is in the ground. And they ran with all this. And then people hear it and accept it as truth. Nah, mate. Let me show you something.
If the milk turns out to be sour, I ain't the kind of pussy to drink it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, man, this milk is hella sour, man.
Sour.
It, man. You know, and so I've always been into science. But through the Spirit of the Lord, man, the Lord, you know, helped me to discern the truth from the lie, man. And
that's right. Yeah, and like he has here, 1 Timothy 6:1, O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings, because the churches that he was going to go visit, you know, Ephesus, they were into all kind of philosophies and madness that they tried to mix and mingle in with the scriptures. He's telling him, look, you know, the avoid profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science falsely so-called, which some professing have erred concerning the faith. See, this stuff that Esau presents to you, and, you know, these stupid arguments, they only bring about more ungodliness, man. You know? And the days are coming where the Lord is going to give us the full breakdown. Right now, everything is trusted to faith. But if we follow the scriptures, okay, we're able to see that this man is a complete liar, a physician of no value. And you shouldn't be listening to him. So I just wanted to get into that. And again, this is the book you can get that goes into a lot of these, you know, it crushes, you know, that damn evolution rhetoric. Okay, but just know these devils are the ones who, you know, presented a lot of these lies to you that became the norm. The men of the Lord are bringing you the truth according to the Holy Scriptures. We are Israelites. Okay? We descend from Adam, through Seth, through Noah, through Shem, through Arphaxad, through Abraham, through Isaac, through Jacob. Okay? That's our history. The sons of God who became called Israelites. Okay? And the other nations' history is recorded as well. The scriptures don't hide from the fact that the first great civilization after the flood were ran by the Hamitic people under Nimrod. And that's where they get you. Well, you know, the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is filled with myths, but they do talk about a flood. Well, they tell you the Bible stole the flood story from them. When those were the children of Ham, of course they would talk about a flood. All nations of people tell you that there was a flood because there was a flood, and they passed down the stories of the flood. We got our understanding of the flood and everything else through what the Most High gave Moses in Egypt when he supped with him for 40 days and 40 nights. All right. That's where the Torah comes from, you know. So I just wanted to get into that. Of course, we could have went deeper. There's a lot of information, but I just wanted to keep it what it was. Hey, Shalom.